I hope the last few minutes of your day were not nearly as frustrating as mine have been.
I'm learning to like myself for the first time.
I just am meant to be here, I think. Hi everyone, it is currently Sunday and I'm starting a new video. It's actually kind of funny to me because in my head, the week starts on a Monday, and I know it's different for lots of different types of people, but in my head, the week starts on a Monday, but I'm actually going to start these videos on Sunday and end them on Saturday just because it makes the most sense in terms of editing and how it shows up on my screen time and stuff, which I know I didn't really talk about in my last video, but I did put it in the thumbnail and it was kind of something that I was really looking at throughout the week. And I'll get to that a little later. Anyways, welcome to the second video in this little destimulation diary series. I am so happy that you're here, and I hope you enjoy coming with me. There'll be a few more little vlog clips later, but I wanted to start here because I've decided that my face is not presentable for the internet today, which is a pretty valid feeling, I feel. Anyways, I figured I would start by showing you a little bit of how my journal ended up looking last week, because I truly did not finish the week, and that's one of my goals. So we started on, again, see, it's weird for me starting on Sunday and Monday, but this is how it looked last week. I know I ended up showing some of these parts. I think I've actually shown everything, but just in case you wanted a little update. So, I stopped on Wednesday, so need to backfill all of these pages, which I don't think should be that big of an issue. Honestly, I don't anticipate that being a problem if I sit down for a few hours today. I'm feeling a little disappointed with myself because of that, but we're working on being more gentle and kind to myself. And I do, contrary to what you might think, enjoy having the pages be numbered and have the dates on them, even if it makes it a little difficult for me. But I'm going to, I think, probably start with today's date and then go backwards a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do today. I hope you guys are all doing well. It's currently Tuesday and I'm sitting at my desk in a tank top, which is probably not the greatest for my body temperature, and so if my hands get progressively more blue in this clip, just pretend you don't see that. And also, as I'm looking at this, I'm realizing how dirty it is. There is no saving me from the random cough or dry voice that I get as soon as I start filming. Without a doubt, every single time. I don't have any trouble speaking during the day. It's like stage fright, but in cough form. It's so odd. And I'm not even scared, so I don't really know what's up with that. But I wanted to update and show you what I've been doing, which is to show you that I've been doing nothing, and then also talk to you about what I've been not reading. Actually, I'll probably start by just telling you, this is, I would say, last week. So the first episode of Destimulation Diaries, that's what I'm calling it, was just kind of generally for me a good week. Or at least a week where everything kind of ended on a good note, if that makes any sense. And a lot of weeks that I have, because I think I still am on quite of a mental recovery journey, I don't have end as well. And so I think I came out of last week feeling really good about myself. And this week, I mean, it's only Tuesday, but I'm feeling not so good about myself. I'm still, however, feeling good about this whole destimulation concept and not being on my phone as much. I guess I think I wanted to mention that because I feel like the first time you do something, or the first week, or the first video, like everything is easy because you're highly motivated and you're excited. And I wouldn't say that I'm not motivated now, it's just a different kind of feeling. And so I'm learning how to process that, and hopefully I'll be able to share that with you. So anyways, that's my little spiel for now. I think I'm gonna start with my journal. I have been using Google Calendar a lot, and I've been using Notion a lot, and I feel like you see those videos where people are like, oh, how I use journaling and Google Calendar and Notion in synchronicity. That's not exactly what they say, but that's what I'm choosing to say about it. And it really seems to make a lot of sense. And so I think I want to try and make a video like that. I don't think it'll be an episode of this, but I do think that I have figured out in terms of planning and stuff how I prefer to conceptualize events in my head and how I prefer to keep it on paper in a more, I can't figure out the word, but in a style that's on paper. So I am going to head to, okay, so it's currently September right now. I have not touched this calendar, and it's genuinely because I have been doing all of my planning, and I'll even put a screenshot if I can, on Google Calendar, and I love the way that I'm doing it. It took me a while to figure it out. I started using the weekly setup. Again, I should really say this for another video, but it's just been really helpful in terms of planning, and it makes a lot more sense for me to plan digitally, because the way that my brain works is that sometimes I just need to reschedule things, and I get things done, but I am at a point in my life where I realize that I need to allocate for more rest and more time, and that's just how I am, which is okay. But planning in a non-digital format doesn't really work super well for me. And I did a lot of this non-digital weekly layout at the beginning of the year, and it's helpful to look back on, but it felt more like I was backfilling what I was doing during the day, and I just don't really need to look back at that. I do like to look back on my daily pages and what I was saying, what I was thinking during the time. I don't do it a lot, but I do anticipate that I'll want to go back, and I have a lot of stuff I've commonplace there and stuff as well, but I just don't, like weekly wise, have a lot of things that I want to plan. And with the way I would have to move things around, I would have to write in pencil and then erase it, and it just doesn't really work here. Like, I need to be able to plan like by the minute in a digital format. And so that's what I decided I was going to do. So in terms of monthly, I think what I do want to do, because I do want to use this as kind of a form of memory keeping, so I do want to, at the end of the month, kind of come back and, which I didn't really finish this, and talk about the things that I was doing during the month. Maybe not talk about, I guess, but write down the plans that I had during the month. It only takes me about an hour, which seems like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, especially if I'm not spending a lot of time on my phone, it's not that bad. So that is kind of what my plan is in terms of monthly. So hopefully I'll get to this at some point. I do have some stuff that I need to backfill, so it probably won't be today or maybe even this week, but hopefully I'll get to it at some point during this month, or at the end of this month. So that's kind of my thought on the monthlies. The weeklies, I really don't know. There was a period of time where, and I was really happy with what I was doing too, like tracking my sleep, and like I've tried to do this a few times, and what I was eating, because I have had kind of a myriad of health issues throughout my life, especially concerned, not necessarily with diet. No one ever really knows what it is, and I wish I was joking about that, but I do think that keeping track of that can be really useful, but I'm just not sure if it's another thing to keep up with that is not, I don't know, I can't really tell if it's useful or if I just like going back and looking at it, and I haven't done this in a couple weeks, obviously. but I just don't know if it's something that's nice for me to look at and if I'm doing it just because I want to fill up that space. And so I guess this is kind of what the latter half of the year in terms of journaling has been for me, which is I see all these people on the internet doing these certain things for this certain section, and I want to recreate it because it seems like it'd be helpful, and I think it's pretty, and I want to have something of my own that looks like that. And I think in reality, going back and looking at it is not something that I do often, except for just to flip through and see my handwriting, which I do plenty enough on these pages anyways. So it's like, I don't really know if that's something that I want to continue doing because I don't think it's super useful. And as I've been like taking more classes and putting more things in my schedule, it's just not something that's super sustainable in terms of time. Like I wish I did, but I don't have the time to sit down at my desk every day and journal for like 3 hours. It's just not, I don't have the capacity to do that either. So anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on the weekly section. I wasn't even really planning to say anything about it, but it's just kind of how it ended up being. Here are the dailies. This was yesterday, and I spent yesterday backfilling the day before, but I didn't really finish. So this is today. I have a couple pages that are missing, but I'm not feeling too bad about this. I think I backfilled this page too. So there were a couple days that I missed, but I feel like this is like a catch-upable space, in my opinion. So that's the plan for today, but that's how this has been going. In terms of the media I've been reading, I am still reading these two that I said I was reading. I hate the color of this book. I don't hate looking at it with my eyeballs in real life, but I think on camera it looks, I don't know, it goes against the whole aesthetics of the video, but it's fine. I think I'm about here. I can't remember, but somewhere. I really should put a bookmark in it, but I was reading the other day and the bookmark fell out of my book and I left it at home and then I was reading at school. So anyways, I also don't like the way this bookmark looks, but I have a million bookmarks, so I should really get to that. Anyways, I also, speaking of something more aesthetic and beautiful, have been reading Dune, and I've essentially made it to the end, to the appendixes. Now it says I'm still at 90%. So I don't know if the rest of it is just like, I don't know, optional reading, but I'm going to probably read the rest of this and be done with it today. It's Tuesday, because I haven't really read anything this week, actually, and I've been reading. It's just the two things that I'm reading are a little bit slower, and I've been, just generally busy as one is. I have lots of plans tomorrow, so I'm planning on being particularly busy, like leaving the house early in the morning and not coming back until late at night, and I have plans with some people and things to do. So I don't anticipate that I will have a lot of time to film definitely clips of me talking. I'm not sure about reading. Hopefully I'll have some time, but we'll have to see how it is. But anyways, that's how it's been looking so far. I'm currently on Appendix 1. I'll let you know what I think of it. I did talk about a little bit what my opinions were, but I still can't really tell. Like, I know I don't know, I definitely enjoy it more than the average person, because I think a lot of what I hear from people who have read the books and are not solely movie watchers, not that there's anything wrong with that, don't really like it as much. They think it's really long and really boring. And I've probably been reading this book since June in small sections and then reading the end of it. And I guess maybe this is what put me into the slump. I'm talking too much. I'm gonna run out of space, run out of storage. But anyways, I will come back to you with my thoughts on this, and I will see you in the next clip. I do realize that this is the first time you're seeing my face in this video, and I look dead. I look dead. If I turn this on though, it ruins the vibe. So this is just simply what we're gonna have to do because I want to talk to you. And it's Wednesday already and I haven't said anything with my face. So my brain is a little scattered. I had a very long day today. But I just want to check in. I just want to talk about the books I've been reading recently. So I finished Dune. I can't remember what I talked about. I think I said I finished the last clip I recorded. I had finished reading the book, but I still had like the appendixes to go through, and I did in fact do that. I didn't read all of the terms because I had kind of already deduced what all of these things mean, but I did read part of the afterword. Anyways, not essential to the story at all whatsoever, but I did enjoy just kind of getting some further background information on the whole setting, world building of it all. I don't honestly know if I'll return to the series. I think I might try and read the next one and see how I feel. It's not one of those experiences that I think a lot of people have with this book. I'm like, I never ever want to read one of these novels again. Like, I really just didn't have that feeling. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. And I'm now, because I guess the series is a little bit about mental health, wanted to mention that I immediately have the urge now to pull out my journal and figure out what I wrote about it. But I'm just going to try and talk about this off the top of my head. I think the story was really interesting. It took me a long time to get through it, like an insanely long amount of time for me reading a book. I believe I started it in July and it's currently almost the end of September. So I've read other stuff in between. It almost put me into a slump for a while, and I wouldn't necessarily say it was the quality of the book as much as it was the depth. I think I kind of had a similar reaction to this that I had to reading like Charles Dickens, and it's not the same type of story at all, so don't get me wrong about it, but I do think that it's a similar type of detail, except for this is like building a whole new world, and so there's kind of even more detail involved just because of the sheer amount of things that have to be explained. And so it's like one of those things where I'm like dreading picking it up, but once I get really immersed in the story, I'm really enjoying it. So I really honestly had a great time with it. I still have yet to decide whether I'm gonna return to, I think like Dune Messiah is the next one. I don't know. I have no idea yet. I do think I have this experience. I don't have this experience very often, and it's where I've had the chance to see these characters in this story on a screen before I've like physically turned the pages and read all that the author has to say about it. And I've kind of had two of these experiences recently. I read Dune, obviously, and then I also read The Perks of Being a Wallflower last week. And it's interesting because I have characters in my head. I think it would have been easier for me to separate page from screen, I think, a little bit if it didn't feature actors that I'm like, I think, kind of attached to a little bit, and people who I just really enjoy seeing in real life and who I think are just interesting people. But I did kind of have an image in my head of what these characters look like. It's kind of a unique experience because I don't experience it often. I do also realize that I'm effectively cutting my forehead off in this shot, which is so wonderful now that I'm realizing 90% of the way through these clips. But it's okay. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, or I guess the last book that I read that I want to talk about, was Caraval by Stephanie Gerber, I believe. So she wrote the Once Upon a Broken Heart series that I have kind of heard everyone raving about. I guess I've been going through a phase where I'm reading all the books that everyone is raving about. I think I have a lot of things on my recommendations list, and so I'm just kind of going through all of them. I think this is one of the first fantasy books that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I think part of it may be I'm at a phase in my life where like YA fantasy is not the greatest and most interesting to me, and I don't mean adult content. I mean the fact that I think the stories are a little bit predictable, and this one was like unpredictable in a confusing way. Not that I was confused as to what was going on, but there was just too much going on, and maybe I read it too fast, but I truly did not really connect with it that much. It just felt like too predictable, too easy, and I don't know, maybe I'm looking for something a little bit darker, but it just didn't really hit the mark for me. I think I'll really enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I think I will probably read the rest of this series in preparation. But I think looking for kind of a fall fantasy kind of thing, and it just didn't hit the mark. It felt very like rehearsed. I think I've just read a lot of fantasy recently, and I've kind of not equally loved all of it, but enjoyed all of it. And this I was just like, that is probably an unpopular opinion. It might be, it might not be, but it just like was not my favorite. I didn't hate it because I liked the world. Like I wouldn't really like to be there, but like I have a lot of images in my head, so it did its job. I just wasn't really connecting with it. So maybe it's like the overused like YA, like, oh my god, I'm so like ugly and brunette. And she doesn't say ugly, but she's like, oh my god, and no one wants me, and I just want something safe. I don't want to go beyond the reef or whatever. She doesn't say beyond the reef. That's Moana. But, or she's like, I'm the only person who wants to leave, or I don't want to leave. Like, it's a very overused, like, robe-ish kind of thing, which I realize is kind of what a lot of fantasy is about, but I think was reading too much. I decided I'm going to cure my fantasy issue by reading another fantasy book. I'm gonna try and read One Dark Window. I have heard pretty good things about this. I'm very interested. I meant to download it on my Kindle when I was out today, but then I had to leave and it was like mid-downloading on my Kindle. So I have to re-download it again because it just didn't make it there. And that's okay. So I'm going to spend my evening taking a shower and fixing whatever's going on here. I look like a scared deer in the headlights. It's kind of what that's like. I don't know. And downloading One Broken Window. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it or if I'm gonna start it tonight because my favorite show has come back tonight and all the episodes just aired and I can't wait to watch them. I probably can't watch them all tonight because I've had a really long day. I'm excited about that. I also wanted to say this video is gonna be so long. I got some ephemera from the show that I'm excited to put in my journal. Okay, doxing myself, but I have this little cute Museum of Art sticker and I have this cute little, and the pages, so I got wrinkled in my back, but the page is really thin. I don't know if you can see the texture, which will be good to put in my hobonichi journal. And then I also have this, which is so cute. I thought it was really good. Plays, reviewing plays is very much not my thing, so I'm not going to do it, but I enjoyed it. I'm going to take a shower and have a nice, pleasant evening. I hope you are too, or will, in the future. And I will see you in the next clip. Hi everyone, it's currently Friday, and I hope the last few minutes of your day were not nearly as frustrating as mine have been. I wanted to film, and I wanted to talk about kind of what was going on and journal stuff, and just talk a little bit about this series. And I was all ready. I sat down in front of the camera, and then I realized I was freezing. So I put a sweatshirt on, and then I was like, I still don't like the way that I look in this camera, so I'm actually going to film from overhead instead, like above the desk shot, if that makes any sense. And for some reason I perch my phone kind of on top of this lamp that I have, and for some reason it just kept falling, and it fell so much that I shattered my screen protector, which is fine. It's not a big deal. I've never ever shattered this phone, so I just don't know what was happening, but the universe is against me today. It truly does not want me to film this clip, but I'm gonna do it anyways because I am persevering. And I had to take the sweatshirt off because I think it made me look really washed out in the clip. And now I'm cold. Anyways, now that my complaining is over, I think my general experience trying to set this camera up is pretty demonstrative of how my week has been. And I guess it's good because it gives me a chance to see how these kinds of routines and things that I wanted to do pan out when I'm not having a good week and when I'm not highly motivated. So I will say I have spent a lot less time this week on my phone, and tomorrow, Saturday, will probably be the last day in this little destimulation diary series, or episode? I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but I just generally have spent a lot less time on my phone. I think I've spent more time like watching YouTube, weirdly enough. I think my tolerance for television is like going down. Like I don't even really feel like I want to watch it. One of my favorite shows came out on Wednesday and I watched that obviously, but I just don't really feel as much of a stimulation to like, or an urge to go and watch that kind of thing. And I think I had that a lot when I wasn't doing well mentally. I just wanted to sit there and watch TV all day because it's essentially kind of an escape. And I think all forms of media are, I guess, some form of escape. Like I think books can be some form of escape, but I think television is stimulating in the same way, in a way that kind of appeals to most of your senses, and so as a result it's just more highly stimulating, in my personal opinion, at least the stuff that I watch. And so I've been watching a lot of video essays and stuff this week, so those have been interesting. I'm not particularly proud of how much time I've spent on my computer, and I'm not going to check what my screen time is because a lot of that also has been me doing school stuff. I don't honestly have an issue with how much time I spend on my computer, and I think while I'm spending this time trying to get off my phone, I think I don't want to discourage myself necessarily, and it's like I only want to focus on one problem at a time. So that's my thoughts on the whole destimulation thing. I do also want to say a few things about this series. I think I like the way it's going. Like, I like the sections where I can sit down and talk, and I feel like because I've been spending less time on my phone, and I talked about this a little bit last week, I'm a little more eloquent and clear-minded when I'm talking about things, which is nice. So I do like doing that, and I also like filming the journal clips. I like the little clips in between where I just show what's going on during my week, because it kind of is like allows me to vlog without needing to like sit down with my camera and talk and be like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Just because I think the way my life goes is just, I'm not interesting enough really to show things like that in that way. And I'm also not, when I'm alone, I'm a lot more introverted than you would expect. So that's that. But one thing I did want to say is that I did this last week and I didn't mention it, but I wanted to. I am subscribed to a Substack where this girl that I follow talks about the media she's been consuming, like the books and the movies and the shows she's been, and articles and stuff. I don't read a lot of articles because I don't have the financial capabilities to have magazine subscriptions and stuff that aren't through my school. But I kind of like that idea, and I like that idea especially for other people who are also potentially attempting to form their own kind of destimulation experience. I think it's interesting to just like share what I've been consuming that's not scrolling through TikTok. And that reminds me, I want to talk about TikTok next week. But this week, now that we've finally gotten to that, one thing that I wanted to talk about that has been particularly popular on the internet lately, because it is like planner buying season for the crazy journal people, and I say crazy with love. Essentially, for people who don't know, this is when like the big planner journal brands will release a lot of stuff, is like around August, September, beginning of September, and people will go out and buy their stuff and their lineups for the next year. So because I've made previous content about my journal, like specific videos about it, and I do want to continue talking about it in this series, I'm going to talk about this. So this is the journal that I've used this year. I can put in clips. Unfortunately, I don't want to prop my phone up with an overhead shot, but this is my little journal. I love her dearly, and even though I love her, I don't think it has worked particularly fantastically for me. So at the beginning of this is the first one that I've ever bought. It's a cousin. I love it. It's amazing, but I do think that I kind of expected that I would have more time and more things to say, I guess, on a daily basis than I necessarily do. I think for some people it works really well if you're like also taking notes and commonplacing, but I'm kind of the type of person who likes to fill up every single available space. And time-wise, I am kind of the belief that if you have a stereotypical 9-to-5 job and like other stuff like that, it's really difficult to like schedule in time for journaling. And even though I very much don't, it was still really difficult for me to like find time to sit down. And I guess part of it could have been the whole like screen time thing, and the fact that I probably wasn't dedicating enough time to my hobbies as I should have been. But I also, a lot of the time when I fell off here was actually during the summer and not during the year when I had a lot of like schoolwork and stuff like that to do. And I think honestly it boils down to having things to do and being busy enough that this started to become more of a chore and less of something that I just wanted to sit down and do every day. I think it's brought me a lot of mental peace, and I cannot recommend journaling enough. I have a whole playlist where I talk about what I'm doing and different ways to do it, and I think it's wonderful. With that being said, I think this is too big of a space for me to fill every day. And right now it's working, and I will continue to use it like that through the end of the year, just because I want to experience completeness, at least with what I'm working on. But as you can tell, there's a lot of space. Like, this is a day per page per day. A lot of people say day per page, and I don't know if grammatically that makes sense or if I'm just tripping out. But anyways, I keep losing my train of thought, can you tell? I do want to size down for next year. I'm probably gonna try and get the same book because I do love this dearly. I love the pages. If you haven't tried one and you have the financial capability to, I do think you should, especially if you're into journaling, because I think it's so beautiful. They are very expensive, but for my personal goals and my like mental stability, it makes a lot of sense for me. And I love the aesthetics of it. I love it. I cannot talk about it enough. But I do think that next year I'm going to try and get the A6, which is just like the original. This is the cousin because it's bigger. But essentially, it's about half the size. At least that's what I've heard. I'll put in a picture of how the two look side by side. But I think this is a much more doable space for me to fill up. And then I think at that point it will become a space where I can just talk about my day and quickly like know what I was doing. I can make a to-do list if I need to. I can use it and not feel like I need to fill up that space. And I think I like the page per day thing because it forces me to sit down and write about what I'm doing every day, because if I don't follow up with a habit, I will let go of it. That's just something that I know that I will do. I am upset that that's the way it is, but that is the way it is. So I like that that aspect forces me to journal, but I also like that a smaller size will not force me to continue to go on about things that I don't necessarily need to be journaling about, or force me to write more than I'm comfortable with that day. And the like original Techo also doesn't have these weekly spreads that I talked about, I think a little bit last week. Actually, I think maybe this week. I can't remember, all the weeks are blurring together and there have only been 2, but I do think that not having that weekly spread to keep up with will hopefully kind of aid me a little bit with doing that. And then also I wanted to talk a little bit about space, because obviously I have a lot more space in this, and I had originally chosen this size because I thought that it would allow me to like commonplace more. If you're interested in hearing more about commonplacing, I can make my own video about it, or there are far superior videos to anything I will be able to say on the internet. So I highly encourage you to look that up if you're interested. I have a reading journal that I used here at the beginning of the year and just never decided to keep up with. I didn't really love how it was lined, but I'm thinking maybe I will just start using it as a place to jot down quick notes about what I'm reading, because I do think I'm reading a lot more and I want to be in a place where I can like go back and refer to that. And then I have plenty, and when I say plenty, I genuinely mean very many journals and places to like jot things down. And I think I'll probably end up like choosing another journal that's not necessarily like a hobonichi or like a nice journal for like commonplacing and stuff to look back at, because I thought this would work in terms of commonplace, but I think I'm at a point in my life where I want to be able to look back at all of this stuff, but I don't necessarily find myself looking back because I don't necessarily want to look back at all of my journal entries, and because I think a lot of this time has been really tough for me to experience, so I don't necessarily want to go back when I'm looking for stuff, even though I've like tagged it and noted it down, like quotes that I've copied and stuff that I want to go back and look at. I just don't find myself going back to it as much as I would, I think, if it weren't in a separate journal and I could just like flip through and look for it. So those are my kind of tentative plans for the next year. I haven't purchased anything. I know it's past September. All these things have already launched. But I think I'm a bit of an outlier in this, in that I don't have the capability to purchase anything right now. It will probably either be like a Christmas gift or something that I purchase when I have the funds to do so, but I haven't. So anyways, those are just my thoughts right now. I will probably go through and show you like on the website or when I order something. But for now, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking a little A6 and then also another journal to put like quotes and commonplace and stuff like that. So that's the plan. I'm also still currently reading One Dark Window. I basically completely abandoned this book again, and I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish it this time, I promise. But it's not in the cards today because it's cloudy outside and that's just not the vibes. But I will let you know how I feel about this book tomorrow. I need to go replace my screen protector because it's shattered. I hope that the video comes across okay, because it's shattered, if you can believe it, right in front of the camera, but it may be just like slightly to the side, and so if it's a little cloudy or blurry, I apologize for that. But hope you all are doing well, and I'll see you tomorrow.